Miss Mitchell.
Hello, Mr.
Welcome,
Sherbeck.
welcome to the Square Pizza Pod.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
All right, what's going on?
Life is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, life's good. The weather has finally changed down here in Nashville. It's a little cold, but a little bit mild. The leaves are changing. It's like this is one of my favorite times of year. I love fall and spring, so this is a beautiful time of year right now.
Well, thank you for joining us indoors while we're borrowing your time from not being outdoors and enjoying the weather.
Of course.
And yeah, we've been on a intentional but unscheduled podcast tour of Nashville. So we just had Shaka Mitchell was our last guest, and a few months ago we had Jahari from the Titans, and so it's cool to get you on. I'm assuming you know those good people with other good people doing good work in Nashville.
Yeah, know a lot of those folks. Jahari and I were just on a panel together, and I was laughing because she was like, shout out to all the people who loved to talk when they were in middle school. Like, it works out. And I told her, I was like, I used to get moved all the time, the time. Yes.
Well, we can address the future of education and how they should be supporting our talkative babies and preparing them for life.
That's exactly it. It's like, it's okay. It's okay. Sure. It works out. Channel it for good, right?
Amen. We're going to go deeper about Nashville, but also our research tells us you spent some time in the great state of North Carolina. So curious if you can maybe share some love or some experience about your time in North Carolina.
So first of all, always going to go Wolfpack, always going to do that. Graduate of North Carolina State. My dad graduated from NC State. He went there for grad school, which was my connection. I grew up in Knoxville, but ended up going to State for college. And then my oldest son was born in Charlotte. So we have all kinds of North Carolina connections. And honestly, after undergrad, I did think I was going to stay in the Research Triangle area because I loved it so much. So still have a lot of friends in the area and love getting back to the Raleigh, North Carolina area.
How long were y'all in Charlotte?
Not long, only for about a year and a half. It was really short-lived. Husband had a job opportunity back here in Nashville, which is how we landed here, but loved it. And the funny thing is we went to, was it last year? Maybe the year before. A friend of mine, their daughter was married. And so we got a chance to go back to Charlotte after not being there for 10 years. Cannot believe the growth in Charlotte. Just unbelievable. So much mirrors the growth in Nashville. And just, looking at the cities, but a completely different city from what we left way back in, what was that? I don't know, 99, 98, whatever it was. So completely different city, but beautiful. And just love the state of North Carolina.
Yeah, certainly shared on this podcast before and with friends outside the podcast, but do feel like Nashville and Charlotte, although are different, have a lot of similarities in a number of ways and have been on some growth trajectories as well.
Yeah, very, very much the same. I was with our Nashville Area Chamber president and CEO yesterday, and she was talking about the visit to Charlotte earlier this year because of the similarities and how the cities are learning from each other. So that's been a lot of fun to watch.
So on a day-to-day basis, you lead United Way in Nashville.
I do. Have been there. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. So I say funny only because my goal in going to United Way was I'll be there for 2 years. Let me just go find out what this community thing is all about. Let me just kind of get connected in for a minute. And so I was coming from policy world, left policy, went to United Way to get closer to community. I wanted to see people and what does it look like once a policy hits the ground? Is it really impactful? Does it help the people we hope to help? And I always tell this story of I called this meeting. I was a contract employee with United Way, and I was trying to figure out what does United Way really do? I think they do good things, and I've heard the name. I'm not really sure what they do, but I called this meeting, and it was around higher education. It was right after they were connecting teacher evaluation to student test score data, and it was radically different at the time, and there was a lot of thoughts and feelings about it. So I called this meeting. It was higher ed, it was government, it was some nonprofits and business leaders. And I thought, I don't know, we'll see who shows up. They don't know my name. And everybody came. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, everybody came. there must be something to this United Way thing, because they didn't come because Erica Mitchell called the meeting. Nobody knows who Erica Mitchell is. They all came because of United Way. And I thought, there's something here. If people care enough to come around a table from all these different sectors and they believe United Way can do something about it. So I drank the Kool-Aid, and I've been here for almost 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
And for our friends that know of United Way, but maybe don't exactly know what United Way does, maybe ask you a tough question, and if maybe a sentence or two, how would you explain what United Way does?
So just for disclaimer's sake, this is literally part of our strategic plan, in that we're coming up with the elevator speech, right? Because United Way does so many things. Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you what I tell people, and that is, we are all about poverty prevention and alleviation and community resilience. Mm-hmm. And we do that across several areas: education, financial stability, health, and basic needs. So how do you prevent poverty? How do you alleviate poverty? And how do you build community resilience? And recently, community resilience for us has looked a lot like things like recovery from disaster, inclement weather events, building preparedness, and things of that nature. So, but poverty prevention and alleviation is really big on our radar.
And knowing both, and many of those are quite big, meaty subjects and topics that are hard to maybe solve for, what are ways in which you guys are trying to make progress on those?
Yeah. So again, like preview to the 2026 strat plan, right? But it's really digging in around education and the financial stability piece. So really around workforce for us. And so we're beginning to kind of narrow down what that focus looks like, and what are the best areas for us to make a difference. I will say, in the workforce area, we're really, really grateful for a couple of different things. One, we have an incredible regional workforce collaborative that's underway right now. And that's, you've got workforce boards, you've got the Chamber and United Way are leading that collectively, collaboratively. And I'm excited about that work and how we can connect the dots more so across the counties to make it easier for folks to connect to workforce opportunities, whether it's upskilling, whether it's credentialing. We know there's some transportation issues, making it known what's available for people to connect into. So excited about that regional collaborative work. And then we were also recently named a Fifth Third neighborhood initiative. And so there are 9. We are the 9th community across the U.S.
Wow.
And yeah, that one has been really exciting because we're focusing in on the North Nashville community. And I still remember, it kind of has like the personal tug on the heartstrings for me, is that my dad, who grew up in Mississippi, both parents are from Mississippi, and he used to talk about coming to Nashville as a young man and saying that Jefferson Street in that North Nashville community, he said, Erica, it was the economic blueprint for African Americans across the country. And he said he would go to Jefferson Street in North Nashville so that he could understand what was possible. And it was like, from an education standpoint, from an economic standpoint, it was the Black Wall Street, it was thriving. And he wanted to replicate that in other communities. And so knowing that it has been troubled for many years, and this, a lot of disruption, a lot of setbacks over the years, Fifth Third making that commitment of $20 million over the next 3 years. Wow. A lot of that around housing, sustainability, keeping people in their homes and not being forced out, affordable housing and the development of that. What does it look like in terms of workforce? So excited to see that kind of infusion into North Nashville. And with every community across the country where there's been a neighborhood initiative of this kind, it attracts and draws additional resource. So we're really excited to partner and be a part of that work.
And with such a place-based focused initiative, is it too early, or are there kind of clear quantitative goals you guys are striving for within those focus areas and that focus like geographic area?
So a little bit early in that it's not concrete yet, but we do have a really strong guiding team. And I'll tell you, so part of I'll say the beauty of our our part in this work is bringing community voice around the table and mobilizing the nonprofits in the space. And so having representatives from the community, large contingent of pastors as well from the community, and listening to them to find out at this point, like, what are we missing? And so I remember early on when Fifth Third brought back some of the data and they were showing us the geography and just the lines that have been drawn out for the North, what was considered North Nashville, which in and of itself can be a whole conversation. What is North Nashville? And the folks on the committee who are from the community said, okay, so while this area does encompass North Nashville, because of gentrification, the needs are not as persistent here any longer. And so, and there were very key streets within the North Nashville community that were not included in the geography. And so we were able to redraw those lines to be inclusive of the areas where the greatest needs were. And I think that just speaks to the importance of community voice. So again, just super excited about where the project can go. And I will have to come back to you once we have some more of those concrete outcomes.
Love to have you back to share all the insights and learnings. And by that time, you'll be writing your book about how to solve all these key challenges, which will bring you back as a best-selling author. That's great.
Right alongside you, Greg. We'll be writing that book together.
And then knowing you've like kind of reflecting a bit on your leadership journey to get here, you mentioned earlier, now been at United Way for 15 years in a variety of roles. Curious, like how the organization has changed. I know a lot, but maybe one or two key ways you've seen the organization change and keep up with everything happening.
Gosh, I think the most significant way is that we've had several mergers. And so we've merged with several United Ways in neighboring counties. So our footprint has changed. When I started with the organization in 2011, we were 2 counties. And so we're 9 counties now. And the beauty of that is learning what each county needs, understanding the needs of the counties, understanding the voice of the counties. And so that has been a really interesting learning point for us. So our geography has changed. But we also merged with a volunteer organization called Hands On Nashville. Mm-hmm. And so that merger was just this past January. And that's the first organization, I'll say, outside of a United Way that we've merged with. But it has increased our volunteering capacity dramatically. And so, for example, right now we have what we're calling Season of Sharing, and that allows people to get involved in any number of volunteer opportunities across the next couple of months. It's the holiday season, a lot of different needs. That started on November 1st, and I believe that runs through the end of the year. But that has given us an incredible on-ramp for new business, the community itself, in a way to understand and get a taste of what United Way is all about.
And it's really interesting because recent conversations locally, and at least in Charlotte and across the country and our other markets, have focused on mergers and acquisitions in the nonprofit or social impact space, which I think some is maybe driven from philanthropy, which is a larger conversation, but also separate from maybe merging to within kind of organizations or networks like United Way. So I guess with that context and knowing it's happening more, what are maybe some early lessons learned around merging in like the nonprofit and the social impact space?
Ooh, great question. We have all kinds of learnings. All kinds of learnings, Greg.
Give us the good ones.
Honestly, I think our best merger was with Hands On. And some of that is because we had so many lessons learned from other mergers. But I think a lot of that too is because we were already doing work together. I think it helps when you sort of begin tackling some project, if there's an opportunity for that, to begin tackling some projects together to get a sense for where the strengths are for both organizations. But the Hands On merger was pretty amazing because we officially merged in January, but the December prior to the merger, we had an inclement weather event. We had a tornado, and we just fell in line because we had already been working together. And so that pre-connectivity really helped us a lot. And it was also one of those things where we decided it was important to keep the Hands On name. And so it's Hands On that's powered by United Way of Greater Nashville. And I think that name recognition has been helpful. but it also, I think, demonstrates that you can have that kind of merger that really goes seamlessly and you don't lose the identity and the strength of an organization. It only becomes stronger because of the merger. And I think that is bearing out and proving itself to be true across our markets.
And if you could, with me here, where might mergers go wrong? Knowing you've done it successfully, and you just talked about that kind of best-in-class example, which is awesome. But for others thinking about it, what advice would you give to make sure they are being mindful of any gaps or roadmaps along the way?
I mean, you always have to understand what you do the deep dive on the financial side to obviously understand what that looks like. And then just from, I'll say, a market standpoint, really diving in to understand more about the culture of a market and where you think that you have the growth opportunity. But that growth opportunity really only comes after there's a lot of trust that's been built in the community itself. And so those are some of the harder lessons that we've learned along the way. It is everyone in that community may know the name of United Way, but you come in with United Way and you have Nashville attached to your name and folks are like, I don't know about you guys. That United Way I know, Nashville we're not so sure about. And so building that trust muscle has been something that now we're putting at the forefront and I'm learning to do a lot better.
And United Way is a big organization in Nashville, both like geographically and I think budget-wise compared to many others. And our understanding is, at least United Way across the country, maybe internationally, was kind of always focused on workplace giving. So curious if you can share if that's like still a method you guys are leveraging, or if there's other kind of fundraising methods and practices you guys would feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, so the workplace giving piece, one, I think it's so smart, and I have a personal affinity for workplace giving. I'll talk about some of the other ways that we're cultivating resources, but I think the workplace giving is so important because it allows multiple people to have exposure to what's happening in the community. You have a greater understanding of what the needs are. And then they have an opportunity to take action and do something about it. You're exposed to nonprofit organizations that you may or may not have heard of before. And again, just understanding the needs. So I talk about our mission of preventing and alleviating poverty and community resilience. We do that, we couch it in what we call ALICE. So I don't know if you've heard that acronym before. It's an acronym for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. So think working poor, but it's people who are above the federal poverty guidelines, but they still struggle to make their ends meet. And just for context, in the state of Tennessee, that's 44% of the people. So, you think of 44% of the people who are struggling to make their ends meet, and you think about it in the context of federal poverty guidelines, family of four, roughly $31,000 a year. If you make above 31, you're not considered in poverty any longer. And so there are people who sit above that threshold who are really struggling to make their ends meet, but they're not captured in federal poverty guidelines. So we couch our work around ALICE, which I think is really important, but it allows us to understand the communities a lot better. It allows us to figure out what are some of the needs within those communities, et cetera. And you know what? I just lost your question. I forgot. You were talking about workplace giving. Let's come back. Circle back, Erica. Workplace giving. But I'm able to share those kinds of stats around ALICE, et cetera, with folks within the workplace. And I think it's so important, again, just because there tends to be a disconnect. And unless you're working in the nonprofit space, you don't really tend to know what's happening in the community unless you're volunteering deeply, et cetera. So I love workplace giving for that reason. And another reason I love workplace giving, and I think it's so important, is because when you start talking about community resilience, I'll say the fabric of a community and what makes it more cohesive, what makes it builds empathy, you care about your neighbor. All of that, I think, is so important. And you reach the masses when you can reach the workplaces. I will tell you that one of the challenges we face is that as Nashville has grown, you have a number of companies that are moving and relocating in headquarters, and it's wonderful. They have a different philosophy on giving. And so workplace giving is not necessarily where they want to start. That is challenging because it leaves the responsibility, I'll say, to other companies, right? But you also don't integrate into the community in a way that I think workplace giving allows you to do. There's just such a there's almost like a magic, if you will, that happens when you can share out, here are the needs of the community. Here's how you can be a part of that. And you are a part of the collective kind of tapestry that makes a community strong. That to me is it's everything for a community and so critically important. So workplace giving, yes. We're also working to cultivate new donors, younger donors, kind of next generation. And I've loved that. The team is doing a great job, just a brilliant job of connecting into next generation givers, building leadership around that so that we can build, again, that giving philosophy muscle within the next generation. We even have a student ambassador program where we're reaching out to high school students, and we're like, have an opportunity for you to build that resume around community service and giving. And you can also talk about us and be an influencer about why it's so important to give in your community. So loving doing that kind of work. So we're trying a few different things.
I love that. And given the growth of Nashville and the markets you guys serve and some of those new businesses that you mentioned were coming into town that maybe aren't aware or don't prioritize workplace giving, how does that change your philosophy? Are you trying to convince them? Are those just not target markets you guys are looking to serve? How do you think about these new businesses, knowing that some will value workplace giving more than others?
Yeah, I think that it changes our approach a bit, but I think the importance is to have the touch point and to say, like, how can we serve? How would you like to show up in the community? What does your corporate social responsibility look like? And we have really found, I go back to the volunteering component of what we do. Volunteering is such a strong on-ramp to just understanding more about what the needs are in a community, how your employees can get involved. It builds your employee enthusiasm and makes you feel good about your organization because, oh, we're connected to this and we're connected to community. It's meaningful. So the volunteering has given us an opportunity to connect people in, as well as for them to kind of taste a little bit of what United Way is all about. So that has been different for us, but I'm really grateful for that approach. And again, I talked about season of sharing earlier. That's been another way that we've been able to connect companies in. There are companies now that are adopting whole schools because they have need for food for families. And so it's like, here's an opportunity for us to get involved in a meaningful way. So providing that on-ramp, I think, is one way for us to engage and involve others in the community.
And my team was just in a meeting yesterday with two large municipalities in Southwest North Carolina. And the number one topic that they were seeking to work together on was affordable childcare. Because it's touching, maybe, to what you said, using the ALICE acronym, it's touching folks that are employed, folks that are unemployed, the working poor, as you said, but even, white collar jobs with people that are doing okay. And so we know that's been a focus for you guys for a minute too. What are some lessons learned or some ideas you guys have around affordable childcare?
Yeah, I wish that we had all the answers around affordable childcare. It is an incredible challenge, as you know, particularly for folks who fall into that ALICE category, but for everyone. And that's everything from seats to affordability. It's very difficult to make the math work in terms of keeping the doors open for community-based childcare centers. And so we work most closely with community-based childcare centers. We've been very fortunate to be a part of and collaborate with an organization locally called the Nashville Early Education Coalition. And just grateful to be a part of that work. And I think more than anything else, we're like everyone, we're trying to figure out, particularly from a policy perspective, how we might be able to move the needle and work together. I will say the strongest thing that we have going for us right now is that there's a lot of collaboration around the table. And there are a lot of, I'll say, from philanthropy to, yes, nonprofits, but also beginning to tap in from a policy perspective. What is it that we need to change so that we can keep doors open, but also build resilience within this space? So I don't have great solutions for you at this point. It's challenging, but we are working on it.
And leaders like you are incredible and very smart in a number of ways. And maybe everybody knows that, but maybe what not everybody knows is you're leading both a big team on the day-to-day work, and you're also responsible for leading a big board, AKA a lot of bosses. And so from like a leadership perspective, hoping you can give us some insight here. Let's start maybe with the team first. What's kind of your philosophy, your leadership philosophy and guiding vision for how you lead your team members at United Way?
Sure. So we have about 100 employees. My direct reports are six strong direct reports.
Yep.
And they're all, I mean, they're just super strong. I was going to say they're all bosses. I mean, they're just the ladies on my team, Greg, are bosses. They're amazing to work with, super smart, super strong. And so that allows me to be able to step back, right? So you empower your team. What do you guys need to lead and do your work? And then they just take off and they're extraordinary at what they do. So it helps to have that strong leadership team. In terms of board, I do have a large board. We're 40 plus. And now you like, how is that possible? Now we have an exec committee that's, a smaller contingent of that. But I will tell you something, and people always kind of shake their head at like, what are you doing with a 40 plus member board? I love our board because it means that we have a touch point for just about any and everything that you can imagine when it comes to the organization, running the organization, run operations, making connections in the city. I mean, we just have connections that are extraordinary because we have such a strong CEO level board. Mm-hmm. So I love that. Now, I had the beauty, I was named CEO last June, but I had a 6-month on-ramp because my predecessor retired in December. Mm. So I had 6 months. During that 6-month period, I did individual visits with every board member. And
smart.
To a person, I learned, yes, I want to be connected in. I love being a part of the board. Leverage me more. If I heard that once, I heard 1,000 times. Leverage me more, like use me more. I want to be of value and I want to be of use. And so I think it would surprise people to know that even when you have a board of that size, people want to be involved. And for the people who can't, like I had a couple of people who were like, I am so sorry. I can barely make a board meeting. Like the schedule just doesn't allow it. I'm like, you're okay. You're good, because they're allowing us to leverage their resources in other ways. I mean, it's just, people contribute and they want to give back. Mm-hmm. So we've been blessed, man, with an incredible board that's just, they've given to us significantly.
I have some current clients and ghosts from clients past in my ear right now, making me ask this question, but knowing every board member is great and incredible, where could either a 40-person board go wrong, or what are some challenges of managing a 40-person board?
So here's what I think. I think that because we have an executive committee of about 12 to 15, right, that allows us to kind of get down into the knit and the grit, brilliant leaders, all C-suite leaders, tremendous amount of experience that allows us to have, I'll say, smart approaches to the work that we do, smart, thoughtful, well vetted, so that by the time it gets to the board is still asking thoughtful questions, but they really do trust the leadership of our exec committee. So I think that having that kind of a structure in place has kept us out of the fray of what could really go wrong. We just have a lot of thoughtful leaders that are willing to dig in meaningfully.
I like that. Yeah, I appreciate the tactical strategy and focus on the right structure, because, right, it's one thing to have 40 really great committed leaders breathing into the organization, but if the structure or the guidance isn't there, things could go off rails pretty quickly, whether it's 40 or 4, I would say, in my experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And then as you think about evolving your leadership for the team and the board, AI is a hot topic that we're thinking a lot about with our team, with our clients locally and across the country. And I'm guessing you guys are too, both internally and externally with all the work you guys do. So from a macro perspective, curious how you're thinking about how you're leveraging AI.
Yeah, from a macro perspective, I feel like we need to increase our AI literacy. I think that so literacy, and then with that understanding, then developing some policies around how it's used. Everyone kind of taps into it a little bit now, just on kind of synthesizing and summarizing data, a little bit of ideation as well, and kind of being generative in that way. But I want to increase our AI literacy so that we can understand what some of the opportunities are specific to the nonprofit space and the type of organization that we are, And then we can build out if there are additional platforms that we need to have in place within the organization, and then the policies so that we have the right boundaries and guardrails for usage.
And I know you mentioned going through a strategic plan, and maybe it's baked in there or currently in the oven being baked, but is there any thoughts about how you guys are using your capacity and network to create opportunities for vulnerable populations to get access and kind of tap and leverage AI in their own hands?
So stay tuned.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Great. We'll schedule that part 2 pretty quickly.
Schedule that part 2 interview. Yes.
And then maybe last part here, how is Miss Erica using AI on a day-to-day basis, either during your day job or outside your day job?
So still for me, AI has been like, I will drop questions into like a chat GPT for some ideation and just to kind of spur some new thoughts and ideas. So I'm using it primarily in that way, and still trying to get through a little bit of I'll say some of my bias on, I need to make sure that it's not doing so much thinking for me that I'm not thinking for myself, that piece. But so right now it's just a little bit of ideation, I'll say personally. And again, I need to increase my literacy on it as well so that I can maximize the usage of AI.
And where are you on the spectrum of hopeful about AI, scared to death about AI, somewhere in the middle? What's your vision on how do you receive it at the moment?
Oh my gosh. I think so. On the one hand, incredible. I think there are so many opportunities, and I have a phone call with a trustee who's in the healthcare space in the next couple of hours, and just thinking about how it can be useful in spaces like that. And simultaneously, yeah, I mean, there are plenty of reasons for us to have some concerns about how it could be potentially harmful, and how do we keep it, I'll say, on the guardrails. I don't think we have the answers for it yet. I don't think we have the answers for it. So where do I sit? Extremely hopeful about some of the possibilities and the breakthroughs that it may allow us. And also kind of in my ear, just being, aware that it can have some significant downsides as well.
Yeah, and so many moving pieces, right? I think everybody's trying to get their arms around what's possible, what's not, what's real and what's not. And then there's, I think studies and arguments we've seen where the jobs that will be cut will create more jobs, particularly in like blue collar workforce development training opportunities, data centers. And so that job total numbers could kind of be a wash in terms of jobs cut and jobs created. That could be a rosy way to look at it. But it seems like it's quite too early right now to really know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right about that. And the other part of it is, so what are the jobs that we should we be preparing the workforce for? And how do we ensure that enough people have that exposure and even know what the possibilities are, that regardless of where you're growing up, you might be able to pursue something in the AI space. I have my oldest son right now works in AI, but again, this was through social connection that he was able to join the company where he's working now. And so again, making sure that we have pathways for folks to have that kind of exposure, so that they know what's possible, what the potential is for AI and workforce, and what that could look like to their futures.
And then if you guys could also put this on your plate, is figuring out how to keep and project current job opportunities in alignment with training pathways and funding, because keeping those two variables consistent and constant aren't always easy.
Not always easy. And it sounds like you and I need to have another conversation because you've been diving deep into this. So I would love to talk with you more, and I do mean that sincerely, as we head down more of this kind of workforce development space, and thinking about what the pathways look like that are meaningful. And yes, the alignment of the philanthropy to go along with that, so that the possibilities are real possibilities. I would love to explore that with you, Mr. Schirmbeck.
If nothing else, could hopefully save you some headaches and a lot of dead ends that I've found myself in late at night. But nonetheless, happy to do it. Okay, one goal Ms. Mitchell has for 2026.
Oh man, I mean, easy for us would be implementing, like getting that strategic plan across the finish line, which should happen early January, February at the latest, and then the implementation of that thing to, man, like just make it happen, put the wheels on it. Just don't want it to be the plan that's sitting around, but really want to see the wheels on this thing moving because there's some exciting things in there.
Yeah, implementation is our love language, as you know, so we're excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Nashville is music city for a number of reasons, not just country music, but what good music artists are you listening to right now?
Oh my gosh, this question right here. Let me tell you. So I'll give it to you in two ways.
Sure.
One, I'm going to couch it in I am part of the problem with the industry. Let me just throw that out because I listen to whatever my husband is streaming. And here's what I realized. I realized that for someone who loves music and who grew up listening to all kinds of music, and I like literally would stand in my foyer with my spoon, like having a full-on concert, right, as a kid. I type in the genre, right, and I listen to whatever is streaming a particular genre. I don't know artists well anymore.
Okay.
And that's like I just realized it's a problem within the industry because I can definitely, like, that's a great song. Who sings it? I don't necessarily know the answer to that.
If I pressed you, what genre are you listening to right now?
I mean, it varies and it depends on the time of day and what's going on. But like neo soul, love
all the tough questions I ask, you're dodging the easy one.
It's like it just depends. Like it's gospel, and I love Black gospel in the morning. I love neo soul in the afternoon and in the evening. I love, and gosh, a little bit of everything in between. I love a little bit of old school hip hop at the end of the day. On the weekends, it just varies. I'm going to CMA next week. I mean, it just varies. You know, it's all good. It's a lot of fun.
What's one thing our audience can do either to support you in your musical journey or support United Way?
Send me artist names so that I can actually listen to them. And while you're doing that, please tap into Season of Sharing. Would love for folks, if they are interested in the Nashville region, Middle Tennessee area, they want to get involved in some amazing nonprofit work and they want to give back during the season, please go to our website and visit Season of Sharing.
And what does Square Pizza remind you of?
Ooh, Square Pizza. That reminds me of middle school pizza. Like, okay, I'm gonna give you two answers. It reminds me of middle school pizza, which was my favorite day for lunch. But it also reminds me of, we have a great restaurant here called Emmy Squared, and Emmy Squared is so good.
They good. You know, if Emmy's listening to this, I need Emmy to consider lowering their prices because I just got like one large pizza the other day. I had to take out a damn loan for it. I thought they messed up the order respectfully. So it is good, but we got to talk about their business model at some point.
That's good. You guys can go into a collab together.
Yeah, they might have some emails in their inbox about co-marketing with this, but that's another story. Ms. Mitchell, thanks for all the great work you're leading in Nashville. Thanks for being a great human, and thanks for joining the Square Pizza Pod.
Thanks. Appreciate everything you do, Greg.